Hi, good morning, everyone. I hope you all are doing well today. And I want to start with a very simple question and just a little, just a little thought where think of your role models. Think of anyone who inspires you, or it doesn't have to be someone very famous. It doesn't have to be a famous, successful person, but sometimes you just come across people who you feel just have it all together, right? You feel like, yes, this person knows what they're doing. This person is going to do very well. They have immense potential. So, what is that? What is it that gives just some people a little bit more edge in life? And we live in such a fast-paced world where now more than ever there's so much knowledge out there, there's so much information. So, of course, I would say what really gives them an edge is being a fantastic learner. And that, of course, is being a fantastic learner with so many stimulants, so much information out there. How do you really convert that information into knowledge in today's world? So, if you ask me, if there's a one thing that makes people learn faster, it's not just being passionate, it's not just having focus, it's not just having the most important productivity hack, but it's actually the art of really thinking clearly. When you learn the simple art of thinking clearly, and this is why I chose this topic, because this was one thing that really helped me structure myself. I feel like I became a better learner, I became more motivated, I became more content, I became a happier person overall, and I thought this is one very simple thing that I must share with you all, and I want to share just a few frameworks for that to happen. So now to start with, it's first important to understand what does it really mean to think clearly? What does thinking clearly mean? Thinking clearly is not, of course, we can very easily say that this is just another mindful journaling or like a productivity hack that's rebranded. But it's actually quite simple and there's a lot of elegance and simplicity. So I want to take you back to the simple stuff where what is thinking clearly? Thinking clearly just means seeing things as they are. There's a thousand things happening around us. Everything is data. Everything is just something that is, you're absorbing it. But how to really use that information, how to really use that information and convert that into knowledge. So when we talk about thinking clearly starts with a clear vision of how things are. Not having, not seeing it through emotion, not seeing it through, as a reactive sentence, but just simply seeing things as they are, is to absorb experiences, absorb everything that's happening around you as an observer. We all hear often that we're a product of our thoughts, right? And I can talk for myself, and I'm sure many of you will relate. We have a billion thoughts going on. So if you're a product of our thoughts, sometimes it's just like I have the intent, I have the thoughts, but where's the action? So more often than not, you'll find yourself at a place where even while scrolling a social media feed or something someone said, a mentor or friend, that wow, that's really great advice. It could really benefit me if I adopted this. And this person knows what they're talking about. It's great advice. But I can't apply it to myself because of XYZ reason. The timing is off. Or I'm built differently. Or simply that, it doesn't apply to me because my context is different. And and yes, that's a very big reality, right? Because we're faced with so many how-tos. And I'm standing here as well and talking to you, giving you a little bit of advice about how to live your life as well. So, I get the irony there. But the main thing is to how do you really process that? How do you really process that into information that helps you think clearly? So, starting with the three simple frameworks, I've always stressed lots of information out there. We all want to learn. We all have, um, there's the radio going on, there's the television going on, you see a very inspiring Netflix series, you hear a very interesting motivational speaker speak, and you want to adopt those things. So the first framework is something that I call mental digestion. Now, mental digestion is simply digesting everything that you've absorbed. Now, think of it like if think of the food you eat all the time, like your body. When you're absorbing the good food, your healthy food. You also indulge in snacks. You also indulge in you know your matcha latte or anything that you consume over time. Some things you just have for taste, and some things only because they feel good, and some things you have because they're very very important. But just imagine if your body was not able to digest it. So no matter how healthy it is, if your body is not, every food you eat, your body digests it, it absorbs all the nutrients, your organs, sort of receive all the nutrients they need to function well, and it excretes, it just lets go of everything that's not important, that is waste, right? And so similarly, even mental digestion works like that. And let me give you a little bit more framework with this, where imagine if your body didn't do that, right? Imagine no matter how healthy you eat, let's just say you eat all the fruits and vegetables and that's it. But if your body wasn't digesting it, just imagine how uncomfortable you would feel. Even if you didn't do it for a day or two, or let's just say 3 days, just imagine how uncomfortable you would feel as a person. You would look something like this, right? You'd be very, very done. You'd be bloating, you'd be sluggish, you'd be very slow. Everything will irritate you. Any food that you really love to consume also you won't want to eat because your body's not sort of letting go of what is not required. So similarly, mental digestion is simply knowing the difference. Is knowing the difference what I need to keep with me and what I have to let go. Once you start mentally digesting, you will be able to use every input, every experience as a data. It really makes this noisy world music, and music that you can dance to literally, where you're able to just segregate that, okay, this is what I take from my day and this is what I have to leave out. It sounds like a very simple practice, but once you start doing that, once you're very consciously mentally digesting something, not keeping every emotion with you, you really have to know the difference, and for that, you really have to sharpen your intelligence. Because like I said, impulse can be very easily mistaken for intuition. And that's an error a lot of us make because, again, this world is too fast, and I know it's very, very overwhelming, at least it is for me. And just knowing the difference that, what is impulse? Impulse is when you're guided by irritation or when you're guided by emotion. Impulse is very loud, it's very urgent, it's very, I need to do this right now. And whereas intuition is very quiet, it's very responsive. It's not a reaction. That this happens, I'm going to react. Intuition is quiet, it's a response. Intuition is also very calm. Intuition, there's sometimes that your body or your mind will just tell you that this is what you have to do. And, and in that sense, when impulse talks to you, it's very urgent, it's very ego-driven. So really recognizing what the difference is. So next time you feel like you generally have to do this and you have to do this now, just try and recall, are you acting from intuition? Is it your gut? Is it your inner wisdom that's telling you this? Or are you guided by impulse? Is it just erraticness? Is it just your ego driving that? Now, looping in some of my experiences at work, as a young entrepreneur, mostly it's like keeping your head above the water. It's constant firefighting. And I always think, okay, when is that? I know what to do, but I just don't get the time to do it. When you're able to separate this from that, it sharpens your intuition. Intuition in real life comes in the most boring ways. Simply, it can also start with simply just knowing what you have to do today. So how many of us, we're very busy. I have so much to do. And yet you'll have 1,000 tabs open, you'll be switching emails, we'll be procrastinating. And that happens because we're not able to really prioritize, okay, this is what I have to do today. And the simplest thing of like, these are my 3 priorities that I have to get done today. And if you actually get down to doing it, you will see the needle move. But once we're not able to separate this from that, when we're not able to separate impulse from intuition, that's when you have 1,000 tabs open and you're multitasking, and that's what leads to an unproductive day, right? So priorities are rare and there's options everywhere. The simplest way to explain that is if I'm speaking with my friend who's who most likely does not want the best for me, let's just say. And you sort of discard everything she says, everything he or she says, just with the thought that, no, this is not one person who wants the best for me. But even then, imagine if you were able to just separate the two, like a really cluttered space. These are my, this is this and this is that. What you're going to be able to do is really absorb that input, and it really strengthens you. It really gives you that confidence that, I can face any situation because I know I'm going to take in what's positive and leave out what's negative. That level of focus, that to know this is what I have to work on today, is a part of sharpening your intuition. So when you have a planner and you know that there's only 3 things written down there, you should know that, okay, now I can start trusting my intuition more. This is not impulse, this is real intuition. The third is the most important one, and we take this quite lightly, and it's very generic, right, and very cliche. Just to be brave about failure. Being brave about failure is important because failure is actually the best teacher. What does being brave about failure mean? It means taking accountability, that yes, that failure is mine, and you really using failure as data, because if anything, failure is data. Failure is something that you need to absorb, and your intuition will tell you that, hey, I've done this before, and this is how it turned out, and this is what I don't have to do. Even the knowledge of what I don't have to do, if you have the sense to also know that this is what I have to do, this is what I don't have to do. This is what I have to do is a very complicated answer, right? If we all had that, we'd all be winners. But also knowing what you don't have to do, what this is how I failed last time, this is a data that I will incorporate to sharpen my intuition, to mentally digest better, and just being brave about failure in a way that use it as data, use it as something that sharpens you. So when we started talking about thinking clearly as well, we started with a framework that look at life, look at everything that's happening around you, look at all the experiences you're having as an observer. So it's not something that happens to you, it's something that happens. So and it's not an avoidable thing. You hear often that a dream without, or just an idea without action is just an illusion. So being done is better than being perfect. And this is why, being brave about failure, that it's okay. More often than not, we don't try things because we're afraid to fail. And just being able to be like, okay, I'm going to go head first, heels later, absorb it, have that experience, and I'm going to build on that. Because more often than not, we let it put ourselves down. Again, think about mental digestion. How do you really digest failure? If you're able to digest it, it's actually the best teacher. So if there's one thing that I wish that you take away from today, is just that elegant simplicity of thinking clearly. Because vision is the art of seeing, they say, and it's not about what is visible, because see, everyone can see it. But once you're able to separate this from that, once you're able to really think clearly, you'll be able to see something that's invisible to others. And that's what gives people an edge, right? So overall, I hope you're able to, if I'm able to inspire even some of you to just to adopt the simple art of thinking clearly, I'd go home a very happy person. Because out of all of this noise that we have around us, all of the data, all of the information we have around us, something really beautiful emerges. We're very lucky to have access to so many things. So rather than getting overwhelmed by it, something really beautiful emerges by just thinking clearly, and that is you. Thank you very much.